Welcome parents to our pre-recorded P4 briefing for the year 2021. Thank you for taking the time to join us to watch this video. Please know that this is a recorded briefing, and if you have any questions, on one of the slides there will be a QR code for you to input questions that the school will attempt to reply you at a later date. So let us begin. Once again, welcome. My name is Mr. Jeremy Lee. I am the HOD for ICT for the school, and today I will be briefing you on the primary 4 level and talk a bit about the programs that are available at primary 4 for your child, and also about the school subject-based banding and changes to a PSLE, which you would most likely be very interested in. So without further ado, let me move on to the slides. And as I mentioned, if you have any questions, there will be a QR code at different segments of the briefing for you to input your questions. So let us now begin. So on your screen, you should be able to see my slides for the day. And let us now begin. So at Guangyang Primary School, we believe strongly in the holistic development of students. We have several programs to help students in their holistic development, starting with pre-assembly programs, which is basically the 15 minutes that we have between 7:30 and 7:45 every day, where teachers engage the students in administrative and also SEL lessons. There is content prepared for the kids every day. So there will be cyber wellness, there will be talks on library, there will be talks on English, math, just to prepare the children. And also at the same time, because every class has got two form teachers who also engage students in one-to-one chats to get to know them better, so that we have a better teacher-student relationship. Now, we also have assembly programs, which are done once a week and on Wednesdays. And we have form teacher interaction, which is daily, which can take place during the pre-assembly. And also when on Wednesdays, when we have our form teacher guidance period, one form teacher will also be talking to some of the students while the other form teacher is conducting the lesson. On top of that, as part of the formal curriculum, we also have CCE lessons that are carried out weekly by the mother tongue teachers, right? And for the students who do not offer mother tongue, they are taught CCE in English. So every child is exposed to character and citizenship education. We also have a values in action program, which consists of the students doing voluntary work and participating in events that involve the elderly, donating food to the needy, and also working with our partners, MDI, the Muscular Dystrophy Association of Singapore, MDS. Now, moving on, just a quote from our previous educational minister and currently our Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Heng Swee Keat. In his own words, our education system must nurture Singapore citizens of good character so that everyone has the moral resolve to withstand an uncertain future and a strong sense of responsibility to contribute to the success of Singapore and the well-being of fellow Singaporeans. Now, this, of course, is something that's very important, and we do try our best to deliver these things for our students. So, as part of that holistic development, we also have co-curricular activities, which are integral part of holistic education in GYPS. We use this as one of the key platforms to develop character and resilience in students, because in participating in a co-curricular activity, they get to play with each other, they get to work with each other, and these sports and activities help build character and resilience, right? It also facilitates interaction across levels, which is unlike just the classroom where they only interact with students of their own age. So CCAs are a brilliant platform for them to meet kids who are younger and older in the realm of the CCA. And it also offers opportunities for learning of CCA specific skills, for example, like musical skills, as part of handbell, as part of dance, as part of the environment club. They get to learn more information, learn more about particular subject areas which lie outside of the formal curriculum. And it also allows for successes beyond just academics. So it's not just about grades, but it also gives them opportunity to explore other talents that they may have, and for them to experience success in those areas, right? And these CCAs also allow for portfolio building for direct school admission, should you choose to exercise a DSA option when the child is in primary 6 and applying to secondary school. Um, so these are all an important part or important role that CCA play, right? And these CCA related matters are communicated via Parents Gateway, so do log in often. In week 3, and inside the Students Handbook, you will find a list of the CCAs that we offer in our school. Now, moving on to academic programs. Now, academic programs, um, basically leading to a PSLE, refer to English, Math, Mother Tongue, and Science. Now, the number of periods that are dedicated to all these subjects are actually determined by the Ministry of Education. So, for example, Science has 5 periods, and this is actually mandated by MOE. So it's not done as decided by the school, right? And then we also have other subjects like PE, music, art, and social studies. These together form a holistic education for the child, and the school places in equal importance in all these subjects. Neither one is not being sacrificed for the other. And within every classroom, there's differentiated teaching. There's also assessment as a formative process where pen and paper is used. There's also game-based assessment, for example, in the area of mother tongue. We also have performance tasks, which are used in science and in math, right? Checklists are used, observations are used, and these are of increasing rigor as the students progress towards the PSLE. So at P1, as P and P2 and then P3, you would see that there is increasing rigor in these assessments. And we also have targeted support programs for selected students to help those who may require a bit more assistance with their learning outside of the classroom. So we have remedial lessons, and we also have a school dyslexic remediation program for students who may be having this special educational need. So how can parents support the students better in their language learning? Well, most importantly, I think because of most of beyond the time in school, most of their time is actually spent at home. So do encourage your child to read storybooks. Parent-child reading at home is actually important, especially in the younger years, right? It helps to form habits. It also allows for parent and child bonding. Bring your child to the National Library, encouraging your child to go to the school library and also to bookstores, right? Encourage them to read widely, and these can also consist of multimedia books, newspapers. And if you want to specifically help your child improve in composition writing, you can get them to read model essays, right? Help them to compile newspaper articles so that it broadens their general knowledge. It helps them in comprehension and awareness of things around the world. And there are certain themes that are also very helpful that you could focus your child on: crime, natural disasters, fire, accidents, human rights. Because these reading such articles also exposes them to specific vocabulary that's used in the reporting of such news, which will be useful for their use when they are writing about such things, and also overall to improve their repertoire of words that they have. And do focus on vocabulary and content, and also guide their attention to setting, character development, and description of events. So these are specific things that you could do for a child to support them in language learning. Moving on, you also should provide opportunities for them to use and listen to the language. So like radio programs, television programs, encourage children to speak in complete sentences. This is important because it helps them to express themselves fully and also to be able to use the language in a formal context, which is important in the oral spoken component. um, Always encourage them to express their opinion. You could be going out and you could ask your child, so what do you think of this or what do you think of that? Get them to go beyond just short 1-2 word answers, but getting them to elaborate about their opinions is important. Provide them with common experiences, such as marketing, going to parks or places of interest. So when you bring them out, don't just go to places of attraction, but it can be very mundane and day-to-day activities, because these could also form the subject of conversation in any context. Get them to listen to the news frequently, again, general knowledge, and also for them to develop awareness of the world around them, which may be tapped on in a variety of contexts, whether in reading or in comprehension, in oral vocabulary. Play language games with them. Simple ones could be, 4-letter words, 6-letter words, 5-letter words that start with a particular letter. Yeah. Expose your child to educational television programs. These can be found easily on the internet. You can get them to watch cartoons with sound values, right? Tap on resources in the vicinity to generate conversations and debates. You could be shopping in a supermarket, just deciding between two items on the shelf as to why, looking at what makes up the ingredients, whether it's green, whether it's organic, whether it's a source from a particular country. All these are ways that you can engage your child in very day-to-day settings. Moving on to mathematics. So mathematics is another area which some children have difficulty grasping with, and we feel that a lot about it is actually with attitude. So we can talk about math in a positive way. It can be very infectious. Play mathematical games, while queuing for something, you could play like what's 3 times 5 or 6 times 4. You could use poker cards to do it. You could use randomize numbers to do it. Help them to make sense of what they learn in mathematics by linking it to everyday things. When you bring them out shopping, while looking at newspapers, while drawing up a budget for a family trip or barbecue, all these are creative and potentially very fruitful situations for you to engage your child and allow them to apply the mathematical concepts. Ensure that your child knows the basic math facts, for example, multiplication tables, how to do long division, simple addition, subtraction, uh, grouping and regrouping, um, helping them to understand ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands, very basic mathematical facts, right? And very importantly, I think we need to build uh, persistence in the children. When they come to us and say they don't know, um, resist the temptation to tell them the answers, but instead guide them towards solving it for themselves. Because a lot of times it's also a lot about how a child is able to persist through a question and think of a solution on their own. As for mother tongue languages, these are some of the websites that are provided by the Ministry of Education, where you can log in with your child to help them to, or rather you can access it with your child for them to access materials that are useful for their mother tongue language learning. As for science, you can expose them to science publications, magazines, Young Scientists, non-fiction books, for example, Science Adventures, National Geographic, for example, is very, very informative. They also have video resources, so feel free to look for these. You can visit venues, especially now where there is no opportunity to travel overseas. You may want to bring them to the Science Center, you may want to bring them to the Botanics, you may want to bring them to the Natural History Museum, the Art and Science Museum that has got interesting exhibits from time to time. Engage your children in these to get them to marvel about the world around them, which is basically what science is all about. And engaging them in questions of why. Why do natural phenomena happen the way they do? so that children are enthused and made curious about the study and pursuit of science. So at P4, what are some activities to look forward to? Well, in term 2, we have the annual Mother Tongue Fortnight, which is an opportunity for children to learn about their own mother tongue heritage. And it goes beyond what is in the textbooks. And every year, actually, we have in the past, we actually had live events where parents could tune in. So now with the present situation, we are looking at the broadcast of these programs, and we hope you will support us and your children. We will be doing some form of live broadcast, and we hope that you will be able to tune in and view their performances. For the area of physical education, we also have a Swim Safer program. Due to the current situation, every school is allocated a timing by the ministry, and for our school, hours is allocated in the afternoons. It is a 12-hour water safety program that children can take part in, and we will be conducting it in the afternoon this year. And the program aims to impart children with the necessary water safety knowledge and survival skills. And students are assessed at the end of the program. And this is co-funded by the Singapore Sports Council and MOE. And because every school is only allowed, or rather the swimming pool is only allowed one school at a time, the slots for it, while some parents may have some concern, rest assured that we will take every opportunity to provide the children with adequate time to change and get ready for it, and get to the pool safely and enjoy the program and come back. More details will be known to you at the end of the term. We also have a sports carnival that will be happening for the P4 students, that allows them to engage in team events, apply skills learned during P lessons, develop teamwork and team spirit, Olympic values, and these will be along the line of activities to celebrate Children's Day. We also, very interestingly, offer the students opportunity to learn about archery at P4. And there will be a one-day archery clinic that teaches the fundamentals and the safety aspects of the sport for children who are interested. And if your child finds that it's something that they would like to pursue further, by all means, they can always follow up with other courses at the community club, etc. In the realm of performance arts, we also have music interest groups. This year, we've set aside 3 Fridays on the 16th, 23rd, and the 30th of April for students who are interested to participate in music interest groups. Then the children will be able to pick a module of their choice. So more details in the pipeline coming to you. Now, in addition to that, in the area of performing arts, we also have class-based performances as part of the regular curriculum. We also have a recess rhapsody where students are allowed to bask. We have school concerts. We have talent identification that is done through these programs, student recognition. Talent is being nurtured. We also use these programs to engage parents. Some of these performances will be made available online so that you may view them. And again, this is also part of the portfolio building towards the application for a DSA. Should your child have a natural flair for this and would like to use these talents as a means to gain admission to secondary school. For the area of visual arts, very exciting themes for the children to explore in P4. They will be exposed to ceramics in term 2. They will acquire knowledge and skills in this area, how to make ceramic art of their own. There will also be museum-based learning in term 3 with a visit to the National Gallery of Singapore, right, where there is an authentic context to learn about art. And this aims to promote art appreciation and enjoyment of arts and culture. At the same time, gives them opportunity to practice museum etiquette. And at P4, we continue the project work that the children have been doing for the past few years, or rather for since P3. It will be a 5-day interdisciplinary learning in a collaborative setting in between the end of term 1, crossing over to the beginning of term 2. At P4, it focuses on heightening their awareness of local environmental concerns. And again, these practice some of the soft skills and the hard skills which are not as easily applied in the regular classroom. Children will have to work in groups, they will have to do research and consolidate information and synthesize a product and do presentations, right? And it allows them to draw together and bring together all the different skills that they have learned in the different subject areas. And it definitely facilitates the development of soft skills like leadership, collaboration, oral and visual presentation, which are just as important, if not more important, in the world that we live in today. Yeah. So ultimately, the focus of all this is the school's focus to instill in all students a joy of learning through teaching and assessment. So we would like to ask parents to give their child some space in terms of support, constructive feedback, and be willing to listen, provide them with problem-solving opportunities, get them to reflect on their setbacks, and guide them towards developing solutions, affirm their strengths and effort, cheer them on for every effort and celebrate all successes, and empower children in decision-making, right? Get them to articulate what they feel, what they think, so that they learn to develop their own voice. And our partners at P4, if with any issues, you may approach our year head, Mr. Muhammad Faisal, and our assistant year head, Mr. Vimalan. So these are our two school staff who are in charge of P4. So any concerns may be directed to them. So let us work together with your child at the center of it all. And here we have the QR code for you to put in any queries that you may have. And we'll just take a moment here. You may pause the video, and thereafter I will be sharing you about P4 subject-based banding and changes to the PSLE. So for now, thank you very much, and let's just take a short interlude. All right, parents, welcome back. Let us now move on to the second part of our briefing. Let me now share with you my slides, which you'll see on your screen now. And I will be talking now to you about catering to your child's abilities through subject-based banding, or SBB for short. This is something that all P4 parents will have to deal with at P4 across all schools in Singapore. At the end of P4, based on the results, you will have to pick a subject combination for your child based on their abilities and strengths and the recommendations of the school. So let me guide you through now the dynamics of the entire process. Now, so what is the purpose of subject-based banding? Well, as put forward by our former Minister of Education in 2006, Mr. Taman Shanmugaratnam, in his words, he says, we recognize different abilities and we want to help each student to proceed at a pace that he can manage. So he started this process of re-examining the entire curriculum and how we can best support every child according to their abilities and not follow a one-size-fits-all kind of model. And the result of this now is this idea of SBB. Underlying it, the philosophy is that every child is unique and has different abilities and talents. And our schools believe in providing a balanced education that caters to the different abilities of each child so that you can prepare him for life. Subject-based banding was introduced as a refinement to the streaming process. Now, for those of us who came through the Singapore educational system 10, 20 years ago, you will remember previous iterations of streaming. You had the monolingual, and then after that, you have the EM1, EM2, and EM3 streams. So the SBB is just the next development in this evolution of our educational system to better support every child and account for their differing abilities. It provides more flexibility for students with strengths and abilities that may vary across subjects. We are not all expected or capable of, or rather suited to be equally good in every single subject. So SBB allows us to tinker and to choose a combination that fits our talents best, right? It also allows greater interaction among students with different strengths, in the sense that we no longer put students who may be weak in a particular subject in one class. They are able to, for example, join certain students for certain subjects and then join other students for other subjects that allow them to work with students with different abilities across different groupings. And as you know, what does SBB mean for your child? It means it depends, your progression to secondary school depends on your child's PSLE performance. And if he excels in his subjects, he has the opportunity to pursue higher level options in secondary school. So at SBB, some children may be offered foundation level subjects. And the purpose of these foundation level subjects is to allow them to focus on building up strong fundamentals. So you have the SBB, basically what it does is that it allows you to say, I pick a combination of maybe some standard subjects and some foundation subjects, or if I need to focus on building up my fundamentals in all my subjects, I could also pick a combination with all foundation level subjects. So it allows every child, depending on their strengths and skills, to be offered a combination that best suits them. So maybe he's very good in math, maybe not as strong in mother tongue, then he is offered the opportunity where he could pursue math at the standard level, but mother tongue at the foundation level, where he can work on the fundamentals. And this would not affect his ability to choose a secondary school of his choice. And this SBB process continues into the secondary school. Secondary schools will offer full SBB as well in the next 1 or 2 years, allowing students to also have that blend and combination of standard and more foundation type courses to better suit their needs. So currently at P4, your child is graded in this manner with 4 achievement bands. You see on the screen, you have the band 4, band 3 mark ranges, and then you have your band 2, band 1, and what each basically means when the child attains the score. And based on what your child attains at P4, the scoring, the school will recommend a subject combination, and parents will be given an option form where you will decide whether you want to follow the school's recommendation or you would like to pick a particular combination which you believe your child is capable of doing. And what will happen in P5 when the child goes to P5 is that the pupils will take the subject combination chosen by the parents. At the end of P5, the school will again reassess the performance of the students and their progress, and the school will decide whether the child continues in the combination that he's currently offering and sit for the PSLE with this combination, or will the child change? So how does this work? At the end of P5, the school will determine. Now, if you look at the blue boxes, pupils who do very well will be asked to continue whatever they're doing, or in some cases even upgrade to a standard level, or if they have shown significant progress and they have shown that they are fully capable of taking that subject at that level. However, for students who do not meet the expectations, they may be asked to switch some, those that they are weaker at, to foundation level. And for the vast majority of students, actually, they will continue the same subject combination. And then when they reach the end of P6, they will take their PSLE, offering that combination that they have been doing. Now, so what happens is that the school will inform the parents of the subject combinations offered in due course, as the school is currently reviewing and looking at the combinations that we will be offering for this year. Now, so what is the difference between a standard subject and a corresponding foundation subject? Now, a foundation subject places focus on the mastery of core content and skills, and these will follow the child up to secondary school, where the secondary school subject areas will build on these, right? For example, you could be offering foundation mother tongue, and then in secondary school you could be offered syllabus B, right, which is a continuation of the language skills, mother tongue language skills, but at a reduced, more basic level. Now, foundation subjects are also pitched at a lower level compared to the corresponding standard subjects. In terms of the scope, they may learn a fewer topics. They may not go as deep in depth, but they are still sufficient for the child to proceed on to secondary school and continue in a subject area that builds upon those. Right? In our educational system, there is no such thing as a dead end. Every child is offered an opportunity to maximize their potential. So do not be worried or overtly concerned if you are offered, your child is offered a foundation subject at primary school, because at secondary school there's always an opportunity to catch up. And moving on, our educational system has got pathways mapped out to allow children to proceed all the way up to university level, as long as they have the perseverance and make the progress necessary to reach those levels. So some parents will also be considering, like asking, like, so what about for higher mother tongue? If your child is doing well in mother tongue and you're wondering, should we offer higher mother tongue? So here are some considerations for parents to think about. Now, at the present moment, is your child coping well in the 4 subjects? If the answer is yes, and you feel that your child has the aptitude and interest and flair, he really loves Tamil, for example, he reads more than what's beyond the textbook. He engages and is enthused in speaking the language, or for Malay or for Chinese, for example, then higher mother tongue could be a choice that you want to make. Now, at the same time, when the child offers higher mother tongue, one also has to pay attention to whether he's spending an inordinate amount of time on the subject. So you also need to look at, if a child offers higher mother tongue, will they be spending more time at the expense of the other subjects? And if so, is it also affecting his pursuit of other interests? So these are some things that we encourage parents to look at. The amount of time that the child will have to devote if they offer higher mother tongue, whether the child has a natural interest and flair for the language, something that he's passionate about and he wants to pursue it, and he can do well in without much additional extra effort. While effort is needed, it shouldn't be inordinate to the amount of time that he's spending on his other subjects. And it should, of course, not affect his performance in his other subjects. Now, students who take higher mother tongue at P5 will be advised to discontinue if you're not doing well in all other subjects. So this is basically an expectation that we have on all the students who offer higher mother tongue. Because if you are compromising your performance in all your other subjects because you are spending more time on higher mother tongue, then you may be asked to reconsider and think about whether that time that's being spent on higher mother tongue can be better placed elsewhere. However, if the child has a good pass in standard mother tongue and a pass in higher mother tongue, we will also allow the child to continue with higher mother tongue at P6. Yeah. Now, students may opt to take higher mother tongue from Sec 1 onwards if they have offered higher mother tongue in primary school at PSLE. However, students who have mother tongue only at PSLE are also given that opportunity if they are in the top 10%. So actually, whether you offer higher mother tongue or not, you have not missed the opportunity to do it in the secondary school if you choose not to do it in primary school, right? As long as you perform in the top 10% of the PSLE cohort, or if you're in the top 11 to 30% of the cohort with an A star in mother tongue or a merit in higher mother tongue, you will be offered the opportunity as well. So do not fear that your child is losing out if, let's say, now they don't take the jump at the opportunity to do a higher mother. In addition, to better help you understand what is DSA, direct school admission for secondary school, this is basically a decision that you have to decide in P6 on whether you want to exercise this DSA option. Now, it's basically a scheme to allow students to seek admission to a secondary school on the basis of their talents and achievements rather than based on their PSLE results. So this allows the schools to enter the academic and non-academic programs in secondary schools that develop the students in these areas. So what are these academic and non-academic areas? So for example, it could be sports and games. Your child is very good at basketball. You want him to pursue basketball as a sport. You could look for a secondary school that offers basketball and offers DSA in basketball. So then the school would perhaps ask you to come down for a trial and then make an offer to you. So the offer is based on the child's talents and not the PSLE result. But that said, there is an expectation that the child needs to fulfill certain basic PSLE result outcomes before the DSA can be effected. So while the school may offer you the DSA, it's based on the condition that your child has to meet certain basic PSLE results outcomes. Now, if you want more information, you may visit the website that is listed there on MOE's official website and read up more. So before we move on, I would again show the QR code so that if at this point you have any questions about what I've just shared, you may put questions in. If you have missed anything, you may wind back the video, listen to it again, and if you still have queries, feel free to use the QR code on your screen now. Now moving on, let's talk about progression to secondary school, which is probably on the top of your minds with the recent news on the change to the AL scoring system, etc. Now, I will be talking to you about how the PSLE scoring now works, how the Sec 1 posting works, how the scoring of foundation subjects work, and how eligibility for higher mother tongue language in secondary schools work. Now, these changes are not something that is new or radical, but are actually part of an incremental fine-tuning to our educational system as it evolves to better cater for the differing abilities of our students and move away from an overt emphasis on academic results. So the new PSLE scoring system is actually aimed at reducing fine differentiation at young age and also to recognize students' level of achievement regardless of how their peers have done. So how does the new PSLE scoring system work? As you can see on your screen, on the left, there is a table that shows you the real mark ranges. Notice the new AL1 that is 90 and above, the AL2, 3, and 4, which are all 5 marks differing as you move downwards from 85 to 89, 80 to 84, 75 to 79. Then you have AL5, which is a much broader range from 65 to 74, and the AL6, which is from 45 to 64, and the AL7, which is a 20 to a 44. Now, these ranges you see are far bigger. And what these ranges aim to do is to reduce the fine differentiation of students, so that students with similar scores in each subject may be grouped into wider bands. So you no longer have that counting of 1 mark, 2 mark, a T-score, differentiation of T-score 1 or 2, but instead every child is put into a band. So whether you score 86, 87, or 89, you are all in the same band. So this is somewhat similar to what you would recall from the O-level system if you have been through it, or if you are aware of the O-level system with your A1, A2, A3 kind of banding. But with a slight differentiation in the sense that for the PSLE AL system, there are wider bands at the lower ranges. And as mentioned on the side, you'll see that unlike the current T-score, the child's AL for each subject is meant to reflect their level of achievement for that subject in the exam, right, in the assessment. In the sense that you are no longer comparing T-scores. Previously, your T-score is determined by how well everyone else does as well. But now with the AL, it's about how you did in that paper, in that sitting. And the ALs for all 4 subjects will be added to form the PSLE score. So the lowest and best score being 4 and the maximum being 32, which is 8 times 4, right? And based on what is the total of the 4 subjects, the child will be placed into express, normal acad, or more technical, as you can see on the table on the right. The ranges have been provided. You can see that to qualify for normal technical, you just need a range between 26 to 30 with an AL7 in or better in both English and math. Now, in the event you may ask what happens if a child doesn't get an AL7 in English or math, then the child may be asked to retain and repeat the PSLE, or they could be offered a place in Northlight, Spectra, or Crest, which are specialized schools to help students who don't transit straight away to secondary school. On the left, you see an example of how the AL scoring is done. If a child gets an AL3 in English, 2 in mother tongue, 1 in math, and 2 in science, all you need to do is just add up the numbers and you get a score of 8. And based on that, students will be posted to Sec 1. And now I'll talk about how Sec 1 posting works. Again, it's about your academic merit, the PSLE score. That's the first and foremost, most crucial aspect of your the criterion that is looked at. So the lower your score, the higher your chances of getting into a school of your choice. Now, now with a wider range, some parents may ask, there will be lots of students with an AL score of 6 or 8. What happens then if my child is looking for that one spot in the school and there's another child who has the exact same score and they're both vying for the same spot in that school? So what will happen is that in the event of a tie where there's one vacancy and 2 children aiming for that spot, they will be looking at the citizenship of the children, followed by the choice order of schools. Now, previously under the old system, every child is given 6 choices. And when it's your turn, they will look at your first choice, then move to your second choice, then move to your third choice. But now what will happen is that if there's a tie, 2 children are asking to go to a particular secondary school and both of them have exactly the same marks, they are both Singapore citizens, then what will happen is that you'll see which child has placed at school in terms of in a higher priority. So let's say one has placed it as first choice, the other one has placed it as second choice, then the one who has put it as first choice will get in. And in the event that both put it as a first choice, then what will happen is that there will be computerized balloting. So the system does have a way of helping to distinguish between who will get that spot. And here we brings us to the other point, which is how to choose a secondary school. So you should sit down and discuss with your child and consider what are their strengths and interests, and make your choice of what secondary schools to opt for based on your consideration of the school's culture, the school's ethos, the programs it offers, whether it offers particular applied learning programs in electronics or sports that may link to higher institutes of learning like the polytechnics. You might also want to consider the school's niche areas like particular sports. They may offer a CCA that your child is interested in pursuing. They may have a particular strength in a particular in an area of uniform groups or even performing arts, and your child is keen. So these could be considerations that you want to look at when choosing the secondary school. You can find out more about all these secondary schools and what they offer by using the Pathfinder tool that you see there on the left. Just scan the QR code and there you will be able to see information about school. You may also from there move on to visit the school's website to learn a bit more about the school and wait for closer to the PSLE release date. Secondary schools will be having open houses that you can visit and also get a feel of the school. And if the school is open to the public, you may actually be able to meet up with them face to face. If not, most schools would run an e-open house that will allow you opportunity to find out about the programs and also probably to converse with their staff and ask questions online. So then now we have a question of what happens for students who want to use higher Chinese to apply for special assistant program schools, schools that offer Chinese as a first language and where bilingualism is emphasized. Schools such as Hua Chong, schools such as Maristella, schools as St. Nicholas. So for students who offer higher Chinese and they want to apply for a SEP school, these do give you a posting advantage. This is nothing new in the old system as well. The admission to SEP schools does also favor students who have offer HCL in the sense that they get 3 additional points for a distinction, 2 additional points for merit, and 1 point for pass. Now, with the new AL system, what will happen is the students with a higher score, regardless of whether they offer higher Chinese, they will be posted first. So here you see on your left a table, you have ranked in first place a child with a PSLE score of 7. Doesn't offer HCL, but because he has a PSLE score of 7, he will be posted first. Next, you will see 4 students with a PSLE score of 8. But because one of them, the second ranked one, has a distinction in higher Chinese, he will be placed above the student with a 1 with merit and above the student with a pass. And then if you look at the 5th position, the child who has a score of 8 but no higher Chinese will be ranked lower than the students who have a score of 8 and offer higher Chinese. And a child with a score of 9 but yet has a distinction in higher Chinese would be ranked lower than the child with a score of 8, right? And this posting advantage applies before the tiebreakers. That means the considerations of leadership, of citizenship, of choice of schools, and of and computerized balloting. So higher Chinese now would come into play when there is a tie, or rather, when there's a tie between children of the same score. Now, going back to subject-based banding and offering different subject combinations. This allows, as I've mentioned earlier, greater flexibility for students by offering them the option of standard and foundation subjects, depending on their strength. The new PSLE score will not change the considerations for a child's subject combination. Schools will continue to recommend, as they always have. So with the change in the AL system, there is no impact on the offering of SBB. We will continue to recommend SBB based on your child's strengths in their particular subjects, right? And we will consider whether the child's aptitude, motivation, and performance in each subject is there. We will look at their ability to cope with a particular combination. We'll look at whether the combination being recommended focuses sufficiently on the literacy and numeracy and facilitates the child's articulation to a secondary school and beyond. Because what subject combinations they offer at primary school does have an impact on the subject combinations they will offer in secondary school. But this consideration of the offering of the subjects is of course very much determined by how your child is doing at P4, right? Rest assured, it also doesn't mean there is a disadvantage. As I have mentioned, the Singapore educational system has many pathways, and no child who desires to and is able to meet the requirements, right, will be denied the opportunity to reach the pinnacle of our educational system. At every point, as long as a child perseveres and meets the requirements, anybody can study their way through the system and graduate from university with a degree. So how does scoring for foundation level subjects work? As you can see, they will be less finely defined. For students who have a score of 75 to 100, they will be given an AL score of A for foundation subjects, a B from 30 to 74, As you can see, that's a very broad range. And then a C for marks, scores below 30, right? And these, like the standard subjects, these scores reflect the child's level of achievement, rather than how they perform relative to their peers. So there's no T-score. Again, it is how they themselves have done in this exam, in this sitting. So when it comes to the calculation of marks, right, for the purpose of Sec 1 posting, the ALA to C score will be mapped to the 6 to 8. So in other words, if your child gets an ALA, he would have been deemed to have scored an AL 6. So he will have 6 points. And a B would be a 7, a C would be an 8. And this added up with all his other subjects will determine which stream he will be going into, as seen in the previous table that you may wish to scroll back to see if you would like to take a second look at it. So for the scoring of foundation subjects, just to elaborate it a bit further, now even students who are taking foundation subjects are eligible for express course as long as they meet the criteria. Now if you look at the criteria on the right, the PSLE score that you need to have to get into express is 4 to 20 and then 21 to 22 for the express option range. So if you can get a score of 22, even if you offer a foundation subject in primary school, you can still opt for express stream, right? So you can see, as illustrated on the table on the left, the child scores an AL3 for English, but the child offers foundation mother tongue and foundation mathematics and gets a B in both of them. So then what this means is that the B is actually a score of 7. And so this child, if you add everything up, it's a 3 plus a 7 plus a 7 plus a 5 for a total of 22 points. And that 22 points means a child who offers 2 foundation subjects can still make their way into express. And now moving on, let's talk about eligibility for secondary school higher mother tongue for parents who are anxious about this. Now, the criteria for taking higher mother tongue is actually intended to ensure that the children can cope with the higher academic load, because it is, in a sense, more hours. Children offering higher mother tongue will have to do more hours than students who do standard mother tongue, right? And the requirement is that they need to have a PSLE score of 8 or better, right? And if not, they need to have a score of 9 to 14 and get at least an AL1 or 2 in mother tongue or a distinction or merit in higher mother tongue. Now, for students who do not meet the criteria, secondary schools can continue to offer higher mother tongue to students if the secondary school assesses your child and says that, yes, you show the interest and the ability, and though you may not have met the criteria above, they can offer it to you. So the door is not closed. The criteria is ultimately a means for us to ensure that the students who offer higher mother tongue in secondary school, they are well equipped for it. But by some chance that you didn't meet the criteria in secondary school, the school still has the flexibility to offer it to you. So that brings us to the QR code again. In the event that you have any questions that you may want to ask after our long briefing, rest assured that we will answer whatever queries that you may continue to have, any concerns. Feel free to reach out to us. And at any point, if you want to go back and re-listen to any part or portion that you may not have caught because I was speaking too fast, or you just want to listen to to a portion that you wanted to understand in greater detail, please feel free to do so. And then you can post your questions using a QR code. And with that, I would like to thank all of you for your attention today. And